Afternoon, everybody. This is Rebecca from Swirl. Thanks so much for joining us for today's webinar, How Google Nearby Changes the Beacon Marketing Landscape, Everything You Need to Know. A few administrative things today. You all will be on mute, but we would love audience participation. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions section in GoToWebinar. We will answer them as we go and then also leave time at the end for Q&A. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Murphy and Mark Marinacci. Thanks.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you today about what might be one of, if not the most exciting and significant developments in the beacon marketing landscape since Apple introduced iBeacon in 2013. It's called Google Nearby, and today we'll talk about what it is, how it works, and how marketers can take advantage of this really unique and incredible opportunity to scale their beacon marketing efforts. My name is Rob Murphy, and I run marketing here at Swirl. In addition to corporate marketing and industry education, I also work with our retail clients and major retailers as they think about how to make location marketing and develop location strategies as a part of their overall marketing mix. And joining me today is Mark Marinacci, who runs our audience development effort here at Swirl. And for those of you who have been in the beacon marketing industry for a while, you know that large-scale audiences are really an important part of the overall beacon marketing ecosystem. So Mark spends all of his time talking to audience owners and publishers and helping them think about ways that they can participate in this beacon marketing ecosystem. Mark is also a former Googler, so he knows a lot about working with Google. So before we begin, I'd like to just give you a quick intro to Swirl. Swirl is a technology company that provides tools that are specifically designed to help marketers take advantage of location signals in their stores. And these location signals could be Bluetooth beacons, Wi-Fi, GPS, and even LED light signals. And we help retailers connect these signals with the smartphones that are held by shoppers, essentially almost every shopper in the store. And through these connections, it provides these marketers with a really unique opportunity to engage with these shoppers. So the platform and the technology that we provide to marketers provides them with the same set of capabilities that digital marketers have been using in the online world for years. And we basically bring the same types of sophisticated marketing tools to brick and mortar retailers to allow them to bring those capabilities to bear in the physical world, the same way that they've been applied to the online world for quite some time now. Swirl has spent the past 4 or 5 years working with major retailers. We've developed a platform that makes it easy for marketers to take advantage of these capabilities, and many of the world's largest retailers are actually using this platform today. So if at any time, either today or in the future, you want to learn more about location marketing, mobile presence marketing, or Swirl, certainly feel free to check us out on our website at swirl.com. And without any further ado, we'll get started now with our presentation. So I'd like to turn it over to Mark to start.
Great. Thank you, Rob. So a couple things, just in terms of the foundational understanding that we should all share. Google Nearby Notifications is a feature or enhancement of a broader platform that Google announced in the summer of 2015. And that platform is called Eddystone. And what we're thinking about right now is on that rich platform called Eddystone, a new feature that allows a location owner, namely you guys, the retailer, to provide a mobile layer and a mobile experience that delivers users the right content at the right time. So things that augment the physical shopping experience and the time that a consumer would spend with you in a store. But this is not necessarily, again, something that Google's just begun. This is a build on something that they've been focused on for well over a year now. And from our perspective, we love a powerhouse like Google coming into this space and infusing it with their energy and their smarts and their creativity the outcomes and the platform that they've been able to put to bear already has shown a lot of great promise. The other key thing here is we'll talk more about sort of the ease for the consumer, but this is being auto-updated through Google Play, so there's no app or anything that folks need to download. And as a result of that, on the Eddystone platform, using Nearby, retailers are actively building out programs and engaging their consumer on their phone in their store today. And if we think about sort of the broader context for this and the big idea that Google is certainly contemplating and now acting on, what we're thinking about is a ubiquitous service for the mobile generation, right? And this is content and experiences that are context-rich and that, again, augment our experience of the physical world. If you tie that very simply to Google's mission of organizing all of the world's information, making it universally accessible and useful, I think this speaks both to access and utility. When you open access to information in the physical world, inherently it drives utility. Why they're doing this is also, I think, pretty self-evident. Mobile is not pervasive. I think mobile is sort of the platform. And as the desktop world sort of goes away and the mobile world maintains or sort of states its dominance, bringing the web and all the rich features and functionality and experiences that we've grown accustomed to into the physical world is, again, not an option, but rather a necessity. And finally, one tidbit that I would share with you that we got actually from a Swirl customer. When you think about this, they're putting contextual experiences and rich mobile-enhanced services on top of the physical world. And I love the metaphor that we got from a big customer here in the Boston area. The customer essentially said, it's as though Google has written in invisible ink all over the world and has now handed special glasses to folks so that they could read this additional content and get these additional experiences. So this is strong, and frankly, it's an extension of what they've done well in search. In search, you express your intent and you get content. In the physical world, you express your intent by walking into a retail location. And with that physical intent, again, you get the benefit of additional content. The perfunctory details. As mentioned about 2 minutes ago, no app required. This has been a historical gating factor, and I think this has been one of the primary reasons why location owners have sat on the sidelines to a degree, waiting for presence marketing or beacon-enabled marketing to scale. The ability to address and access a significant consumer base now exists. Google has taken away the requirement of a downloadable app and made it very easy due to the fact that it's embedded in the operating system via Play services. So this is a really, really, really big deal. And what we're talking about here is content or experiences triggered by an Eddystone beacon, a beacon that Swirl would happily provision you, a beacon that other hardware OEMs would happily provision you. Google's also created a sanctioned ecosystem that you can go to source and procure certified hardware. And that infrastructure lights this up. In terms of the front end for consumers, it's pretty seamless. Again, working in the background, notifications appearing on your lock screen, and of course, in true Google fashion, a way to engage with the consumer in a very permissible way, taking in and understanding his or her feedback, and doing things that are additive to their experience. Finally, last and most pertinent detail, available across Android phones at 4.4 and above. And then thinking about the why. Talked about this a second ago, and I think I'll sort of end my section on this point. Why it matters is really, really simple. The infrastructure that a retailer puts in place in the store is proportional to the audience access. So the more people that can benefit from your investment in presence technology, the better. And this really addresses in a significant way the question of access. It creates greater access by limiting historical barriers that have kept the consumer out of this ecosystem. And the final thought here is Google opens up access. They do it in a way that I think promotes an open standard around which the industry can form and coalesce. And as that happens, I think there's a vibrant marketplace that forms for the consumer and the retailer, for the brand and supplier that also participates in the store, and then obviously for mobile publishers and owners of audience.
Thanks, Mark. So I'd like to now talk about just sort of where we are with the evolution of beacon marketing. If you think about this entire beacon marketing ecosystem and how it's developed, one of the first things that's obviously required in order to make this work is location signals. And over the course of the past few years, there have been a number of stories, articles, and coverage of retailers who have deployed beacons in their stores, who have run pilot programs or test programs, or were experimenting with the technology. But something else has been happening behind the scenes, a couple of things actually, that have really helped to develop a scalable location signal infrastructure in this country. The first is that there are a number of very large retailers who have deployed beacons in every one of their stores throughout the country. And many of these retailers did this because they wanted to build the infrastructure and have it in place so that as the rest of this ecosystem developed in terms of the tools and capabilities and the ability to reach larger numbers of consumers and their smartphones, they would already have the infrastructure in place to be able to do that in a large-scale way. The second thing that's happened over the past few years is these signals have started converging. And so what we're starting to see now is there are a lot of hardware manufacturers who are incorporating Bluetooth signals in the hardware that they're already installing or have installed in retail locations. So that's everything from Wi-Fi access points, chip readers and payment terminals, even LED lights. Many of these things now, as the retailers are going through the normal hardware infrastructure upgrade cycles, many of these new devices actually have BLE signals built into them. And so as a result, these retailers, just by virtue of their regular upgrade cycle, now have Bluetooth signals throughout their store. So the second thing that you need for this ecosystem to emerge and develop is a set of capabilities that allow retailers to take advantage of these signals. And these capabilities are much broader than just the sort of simple, common proximity marketing use case that many people hear of, which is pushing a message or an offer to a person in the store. There's a much wider variety of things and ways that retailers are thinking about creating value from these signals. So that's everything from gathering data on the in-store behaviors of shoppers so that they can personalize communications to them in any channel that they have. It's creating things like in-store mobile services. So lighting up services that they may already have in their mobile app or in their store and making consumers aware of them. It's online to offline attribution and offline to online retargeting. And it's also extending this thing to some of their brand partners so that the brand products that they're selling in their stores, those brands can bring useful content, offers, messages, and services directly to the shoppers in the store. And the third thing that's required to grow this ecosystem is mobile audiences. So you need consumers who have smartphones that are able to listen for and interact with these signals. And over the past couple of years, many retailers have been adding these capabilities to their own native mobile apps so that they can talk to their most loyal users. In addition, there are a number of third-party audiences, whether they're shopping apps, cooking apps, lifestyle apps, that have added this capability and run programs jointly with retailers to interact with their signals. But this recent news by Google is really the game changer in this area, because suddenly overnight, what you now have is that retailers are able to reach almost 100 million consumers who now have beacon-enabled phones in their hands while they're in their stores. And that's really a big deal. And what that essentially does is provide massive, massive scale in terms of audience reach that now allows retailers to get much more out of the location signals that they either have or are installing in their stores. And then finally, one last thought on this ecosystem. One of the things that we have seen over the past couple of years and feels like it's starting to get stronger is brand interest in this ecosystem. So again, for brands that are selling their products at some of these retailers, they want to find ways to work with the retailers jointly to be involved in these efforts in communicating with and engaging with shoppers in the stores. And we expect to see over the course of this year and next year, you're going to start seeing a lot more brands that are part of this ecosystem in a public way, engaging directly with consumers. So in terms of specifically the Google Nearby capability and what you can do with it, there are 3 types of content or experiences that can be delivered through this Google Nearby capability. The first is a web URL, and essentially what that means is that any type of content you could put on a web page, you can deliver to a consumer. So that's basically either existing content or a blank canvas that allows you as a retailer any type of content that you can imagine directly to the consumer. The second is what's called a mobile app intent content, and essentially what this is a deep link within a retailer's mobile app. So for a retailer that has their own mobile app and wants to make it easy to activate that content or that feature in a store, they can use the Google Nearby platform to launch a specific page or section or service or capability of that app on the user's phone when they're in the store or within range of a beacon. And the third one is a mobile app install unit, which essentially is a Google Nearby notification that says, hey, welcome to this store or this area of the store. You should really download this retailer's mobile app right now because it has these great features that are relevant and valuable to your shopping experience today in this store, in this location. So some specific examples of how this might work. Take clearance and open box inventory, for example. This is one of the hidden assets that's more liability, frankly, at most retail stores. But one of the things that Google Nearby could be used for is to turn this into a really interesting engagement mechanism and value creation opportunity for retailers and consumers. Imagine that you walk in the store and Google Nearby sends you a message that says, hey, welcome to this particular retail store. I have in back special clearance or open box inventory, which is at a huge discount that I'm looking to get rid of. It's in stock today. If you're interested, here's the list of inventory that we have available. Let us know and grab a sales associate and they'll be glad to help you out. And this is effectively a way to provide some almost like a sweepstakes or excitement to the consumer, a reason to go to the store more often because they never know when they're going to find some great product that they want that happens to be in inventory at a huge discount. So it's a really fun, interesting, and engaging way for retailers to use this technology with assets that they already have in the store and bring them directly to consumers. Another example, again, of just using go put the content that may already exist on the web, on the retailer's website, bring it to the consumer in the store. Imagine I'm in the electronics department and I've been there for 5 minutes looking at flat screen TVs. Google Nearby could send a notification that says, hey, as long as you're checking out TVs, here's access to some useful content to help you make your decision. Here's some product reviews and ratings. Here's some tips on picking the right TV. And potentially here's some really useful information, offers, and content that will help you make a more informed decision. Another example, so imagine that there's a consumer who actually does have the retailer's mobile app on their phone, and the retailer wanted to make them aware of personalized content that they already have in the app. So this is nothing more than surfacing relevant content or services that the user or shopper already has on their phone, and they're relevant to specifically the store or the area of the store that they're in now. For shoppers who don't happen to have the retailer's mobile app on their phone, in a particular area of the store, or in this case it might actually even be the entrance, they could do something as simply as surfacing an e-circular to them, a digital circular. Instead of the old printed circulars that are at the entrance or all over the floor at the entrance, Here's an easy way to deliver it to the consumer that they will have it in their hands while they're walking around the store, and it's a value add so that they know in particular what's on special this week in the store that they're in. There are a number of retailers who have added specific in-store capabilities or in-store mode to their mobile app. Google Nearby notifications are a great way to make consumers aware of those capabilities. And this is particularly relevant for lapsed or dormant consumers, people who may have the app, but they don't feel like scrolling through the 50 apps on their phone to find that particular one when they enter the store, or they didn't even know that these in-store tools existed. This is a really easy way for retailers to surface that content, to re-engage consumers with their mobile app, and give them tools that can create value for their shopping experience. For consumers who may not have the retailer's mobile app when they're in the store, especially for those that, again, have invested in these in-store shopping tools and capabilities, this is a great time to remind them, hey, if you download the app, here are some great tools and services that you'll have access to while you shop in my store. For retailers that have large loyalty programs, imagine standing in the checkout line. One of the great opportunities here for consumers who are members of the loyalty program and who have the retailer's app, this would be a great opportunity to surface their loyalty card. Remind them, hey, here's your points balance. Don't forget to ask the sales associate to scan your card because you want to keep track of these purchases so that you'll get points and credit for it. And for consumers who may not have the app or may not be a member of the loyalty program, this would be a great time to encourage people to join the loyalty program. Tell them what the benefits are and make it really easy for them to sign up right on their phone online today while they're waiting in line. So in terms of how this thing actually works, it's actually very easy to get started with Google Nearby. There are really 3 simple steps. As Mark said, you would buy and configure Eddystone beacons. So from any one of a number of beacon hardware providers, you can buy the beacons and then use their tools to configure these beacons to broadcast Eddystone signals. You would then use the Google Nearby platform to register these beacons with Google so that Google knew where these beacons were and who owned them. And then you add these things called attachments to those beacons. And those are the URL, the deep link to a particular app, or an app install. And that's essentially it. Then you're ready to serve any one of these 3 types of content when a consumer with the Google Nearby, or essentially an Android phone, walks within proximity to one of these location signals. But one of the things that's really important to know about this entire Google Nearby capability and ecosystem is that there are a number of limitations that you have to be aware of. So this is certainly not a sort of silver bullet or entire solution for retailers for their entire location marketing strategy. This is a technical utility that Google has developed to make it easy and helpful for retailers to provide this type of content to smartphone users. It's a building block in a broader capability or strategy that retailers should be developing. Because it is a technical utility, it requires a lot of manual and effort and resources to use this capability. And it wasn't designed to be a full-scale marketing solution. So the way I think about this is similar to the Android operating system. It's a useful set of tools and capabilities that Google developed for developers to then go add on to and take advantage of, but it's certainly not a full-scale capability and platform in and of itself. And then the other thing to realize is that because this is Google and Android, this capability is exclusive to Android phones and to Google. And so certainly for retailers who are thinking about using their own app or partnering with other third-party audience as well, this would only be part of an overall solution. So in terms of how it works, essentially what a retail marketer would do is they would go provision the third-party beacon hardware, as we said, and most third-party beacon hardware providers also have beacon management tools that allow them to configure those beacons. The retailer would then have to connect those beacons to the Google Nearby capability, and they do that through the Google Beacon Registry and Beacon Dashboard. The retailer need a number of operational resources to really manage this thing, because it wasn't designed to be managed at scale. If you're thinking about managing 1,000 or 10,000 beacons, for example, in a number of campaigns, it's really time and labor intensive. And so from a marketer perspective, you would likely need a number of support resources to really help you manage that program.
And adding just a bit of historical context to the discussion, the last large marketplace that Google deployed that leveraged consumer intent was called AdWords. And when AdWords was standing up, there were a host of marketing services providers that helped retailers and other direct response marketers, and then in time brand marketers, take advantage of the complexity of AdWords, developing keyword strings and targeting formats and all sorts of bid management. This is no different. So a platform has been deployed, value-added services now find themselves smack dab on top of that platform.
So in terms of expectation setting, if you think about this capability, it's sort of similar to a capability of putting signs in every one of your stores, wherever you have beacons, so it could be multiple departments. And imagine you had these signs, and you wanted to put these signs in, again, 1,000 stores and 4 departments in a store. It would be a great capability to have, but if you wanted to put different messages and different signs in different stores or different departments, or different seasons they need to be changed, or different regions, or you want to rotate the messages, it would really be labor intensive and time consuming to think about how to manage all of these things, how to get out and do the execution to change them, how to schedule them and move messages back and forth, and measurement would certainly be a challenge as well. So that's sort of the way that I think about this capability. It's a fantastic capability to have, but you have to realize what some of its limitations are and what its capabilities are in order to take advantage of it. So one of the things that we have done, Swirl, as a mobile presence platform provider, is we wanted to find ways to help retailers take advantage of this great capability, but make it easier for them to do it at scale. So basically remove some of these manual processes and challenges that are there from a developer perspective by creating what we call a marketing services layer, and essentially providing a set of platform capabilities that sits on top of the Google Nearby capability and provides retailers with really an additional set of capabilities and features that allow them to more efficiently and effectively take advantage of those tools and capabilities that Google offers. So the Swirl platform that we offer provides, again, a single platform, a single interface, a single partner for beacons. So we provide beacon hardware. We provide beacon management capabilities to configure those beacons and then deploy them. A full suite of proximity marketing tools to manage campaigns, schedule campaigns, test creatives, measure creatives, and support services to help retailers get up and running. We designed this platform to be modular, so for retailers that either already have their own beacons or location signals in their stores, or want to buy beacon hardware from somewhere else, they can certainly do that. And the Swirl platform will still interact with those beacons and the Google capability. So it's really a way to provide retailers with some automation to take advantage of all of these capabilities that Google offers, but do it in a way that's much more scalable. So in terms of integrated marketing capabilities that, again, the Swirl marketing services layer provides, things like bulk beacon registration and management. So every beacon that is provisioned in the Google platform has to be manually provisioned one at a time. So if you were rolling out Google Nearby to 1,000 beacons across 1,000 stores, you would have to go in and set up those beacons 1,000 times. Whereas with a platform like Swirl, because we've automated some of those capabilities, you can do this beacon registration all in basically one process. Just have a list of the beacons, press the button, and then you have automatically provisioned them and connected them to the Google Nearby platform. We provide campaign management capabilities, targeting and scheduling, A/B testing. It's all the normal tools that a digital marketer would want to have, and in particular for most retailers who would be running, it could be tens or hundreds of campaigns at the same time. If you think about day parting and scheduling across seasons or stores or regions, testing different campaigns and running campaigns across different departments, it's really a lot of campaigns that need to be managed and organized and scheduled across this platform. And so doing the manual really an option for retailers that want to do this at scale. They need a much richer set of automated capabilities and tools to do that. And that's really what a marketing services layer like the Swirl platform provides to help drive increased efficiency and effectiveness. The other thing that a platform like Swirl adds and provides is the capability to have the retailer be ready to take on and expand this whole mobile presence capability and location strategy that they might have for the future. As we think about where this industry goes and as retailers think about longer term, there are a whole bunch of other opportunities that they should be thinking about and thinking about how to take advantage of. So everything from multiple location signals, as we talked about, not just beacons, but GPS signals to drive people into stores, potentially Wi-Fi signals in the stores for people that don't have the retailer's app or happen to want to connect with the store's Wi-Fi, even some of the LED light signals that are now starting to be deployed in stores. The other thing that retailers will likely want to take advantage of in the future is interacting with multiple audiences. So Google Nearby is certainly great because it allows you to engage with a massive number of Android users. But for retailers who want to engage directly with consumers in their own app, in iOS ecosystems or apps, with other publishing partners, it's going to be important to have a single platform that allows you to integrate with and engage with all of those publisher audiences, as opposed to forcing the marketer to go use 4 different platforms or systems, one for each publisher or application that they're using. And then finally, as I said, as brands come into this ecosystem, again, it's going to be important to find easy and seamless ways for retailers to extend access to those brands, but also control that access and make sure that they're the ones that are in charge of the overall user experience. So some final thoughts on this entire space and this ecosystem. It's no surprise to any retailer that mobile is really dominating every aspect of our culture, and every single retailer that we talk to is thinking about what their mobile strategy is and what mobile capabilities they need to develop. Location awareness and mobile presence is creating really new and powerful sets of opportunities to create value for retailers and shoppers. Everything from new opportunities for engaging with consumers in the store, new opportunities for collecting really rich data that can be used in the store and in all of the retailers' omni-channel efforts, and new capabilities for personalizing messages that retailers are delivering to consumers, again, whether they're in their store or any other channels where they're communicating with them. There are a number of retailers who have been working with this technology for the past several years now, and those retailers have scaled infrastructures in place. They've developed and gathered data from these interactions with consumers, and they've already generated a number of really interesting learnings around how to deploy this technology and how to optimize this technology. So for those retailers who haven't yet put much time into this capability or developed a location strategy, my plea to all of you is to really get started now. Collecting data and generating this learning is going to take time, and it's because many of these retailers already have years of experience with it. It's really important to get started as soon as you can.
Yeah, and another thought, just to sort of put a cap on this, for retailers, I think, no surprise, it is a tenuous and difficult time, and the store experience is key. It's critical. Can't just compete on price, can't just compete on assortment. We have to have a reason for folks to come back and visit us and spend more time with us. And I think you should think about Google's platform as a way to bring them in, to partner with them, to recreate what your in-store experience can be. Mobile becomes that additive contextual layer that enhances the physical world. So that's Google's design, and if they bring that to the physical world, you folks should certainly take advantage of that, bringing it into your physical store.
Great. There have been some great questions that have come through as Rob and Mark were presenting, so let's bring those to light. First question, is this feature available for iPhones?
Is this feature available for iPhones?
Yeah.
No. This feature is not available for iPhones. So what we're focused on right now is trying to bring the scale of the Android platform into the ecosystem. I think there'd be broader design past that, but right now you should think about this as focused exclusively on the Android user, again, 4 and above. But that's a significant population, and when you look at it in the broader context of presence-enabled marketing, a sea change in the access that we can now offer.
Okay, great. Next question on the user experience. How do we prevent this from being viewed as spam?
So a quick thought on that. Having spent 8 years at Google, I can tell you with personal experience and certainty that Google thinks obsessively about the consumer experience. And when you look into the details of Eddystone and Nearby, just from a matter-of-fact standpoint, the way that this thing has been architected and built, the way that it's been subsequently rolled out and deployed, all of it has been gingerly and judiciously done so that Google can take in initial learnings and scale things from there. So Google's very good at understanding what the consumer not will tolerate, but will actually engage with and desire. They've proven to us over the last N number of years that they can do that in the desktop world. They've learned how to do that also in the mobile world, and now they sort of take this into your store. So I think that there's some modicum of trust that you would extend to Google, but I think that their track record speaks for itself.
I think the other thing to realize is that Google, obviously Google cares very much about their brand and the brand experience. So they have built in safeguards into this capability that provides consumers with control to basically prevent unwanted messages from taking place. They can opt out at any time for any particular message if they view it as offensive, annoying, or non-value added. They can opt out of receiving messages from that particular retailer or that particular beacon ever again. So there's a number of ways that consumers can basically just opt themselves out and tell retailers, this wasn't value added and I don't appreciate it. And the other thing that I'll say on this is no different than any other beacon marketing effort, which is it takes learning to figure out what consumers want and what consumers view as value added and how often you can message them. And again, that's part of the reason why many retailers over the past couple of years have been running pilots and test programs to get this feedback, to generate the learning, so that when the opportunity like this came to roll this thing out at scale, they already know what consumers want and what they value.
Okay. Next question. Can a retailer put rules on their notifications? For example, if a consumer has the retailer's app, can it send one notification, and then is there an alternative communication that it could send to consumers who don't have the retailer's app?
Sure. So unpacking this one, I think what we have to think about is the consumer experience. So the consumer has shown intent just by virtue of walking into your store. That's the primary question, is the consumer present? The second question would be, what additional things does Google know about this consumer? And then how has content or experience been lined up to satisfy user type A, who has the app, or user type B, who might not? Earlier in the presentation, we talked about the 3 different sort of modes of content delivery, the web URL, the mobile app intent, or the mobile app install. So you could think about very, very quickly Google knowing whether or not, based on Play services, you have the, say, Best Buy app. If you had it, the likely and best consumer experience would be to unlock and open that tool that you already have and drive, therefore, usage in the app. For the user that doesn't have the Best Buy app, Google, again, would know that, and therefore, yes, can provide a new experience to that person, likely encouraging them to download the app for reasons, A, B, or C, clearly stated in the call to action. So again, once presence is known, Google knows other things about that consumer and what they have on their phone and what they engage with. So it's very easy to think about how you would align content to those different users or segments.
Okay. We just have time for a few more questions now. What is the distance radius of these Eddystone beacons?
So these beacons can actually be configured for any radius up to about 80 meters. And the way in which, and that's all done through the beacon management capabilities. So again, you go buy beacon hardware, and typically that would come with tools for configuring those beacons. As part of that configuration process, you would decide, do I want this to broadcast a very narrow range, which might be 5, 10, or 15 meters because it's just a small area of the store, the checkout area, or display, or do I want this to be a much larger radius because it's a large area of the store, or I want it to cover the entire entrance of the store, again, upwards of 80 meters in radius. So it's adjustable and it's manageable by the retailer by using these beacon management tools.
Okay. Another question. What exactly is the beacon listening for? Is it listening for the Google account or a user's phone number?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think that part of what we need to understand is the overall architecture of what Google's deployed. I'm a proud liberal arts major, so I'll keep this very simple. Google has something called the Beacon Registry. And earlier in the presentation, Rob referenced it. I think I might have as well. In the registry, that is where the metadata associated with beacons and sensors and other location technologies lives. And what the phone is then listening for is, am I in the presence of a beacon? And that's sort of a very bifurcated black-white yes-no consideration. Once the answer yes is apparent to Google, it then goes into the registry to understand exactly what it's hearing and therefore where it is. So it has very little to do with the Google account per se or the consumer's phone number per se. It's really about the Beacon Registry, which would be that cloud-based repository of location information that Google can see. And now that Google can see it, Google can work with you to enhance the services, features, and experiences that you ultimately deliver your consumer in your store.
Yep.
Reverting back to the analogy that Mark used on the invisible ink, this is, remember, a beacon doesn't listen for anything. All a beacon does is broadcast out a signal. So the phone, in and of itself, and the operating system of the phone is actually the decoder glasses, and it's just walking around listening for the signal to decide, am I in a place right now where I should allow the user to go see this content? And it's essentially nothing more than that. It has nothing to do with the Google account. It has nothing to do with the mobile phone number. It's just the device, and when the device hears one of these beacon signals, it allows it to show the content that was available at that location.
All right, I think that's about it in terms of time, but thank you all so much for joining us for today's webinar. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach us on our site, swirl.com. You can also reach out individually to Rob and Mark. All right, thanks so much. Have a good one.